Hello, hello. Welcome to Roth IRA office hours. These calls are being recorded and uploaded to YouTube. So only turn on your camera if you want to be on YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. We had 5 people register for this workshop today. And so far, we only have one in the room. I also got a DM from one of you saying that you were manifesting that you're the only one who showed up to today's call. I'm wondering, Lori, if you were the one who manifested that. Maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it was. All right, let's go ahead and share my screen. All right. So this is March 2026, Roth IRA office hours. I want to hear from you. Right now it's only, oh, we got someone else in the space. But drop in the chat where you are tuning in from. What state are you in? Let's just say that. What state are you in and what does the weather look like? I am in California and it is a little gloomy right now. The sun is starting to come out, but it's cool weather. What state are you tuning in from? And what is the weather like? I want you guys to make sure that you understand where the chat is and that you use it because when you signed up, you submitted questions. But I want you to know that in this 1 hour, maybe more questions are going to come up. And I want you to feel so comfortable just dropping your questions, and just asking away. Okay. So, right now in the chat, please let me know the state and the weather. Jackie is also tuning in from California and has that similar cloudy weather as me. All right. So, a disclaimer that this presentation is for educational purposes only. Wealth para Todos LLC does not provide legal, accounting, investment, or tax advice. Please consult qualified professionals for guidance on your specific legal, tax, investment, or accounting obligations. In order for you to have the appropriate information for you, it's important that we do not it's important that you have a comprehensive view of your finances. There are questions I'm going to answer today, but I don't know your entire picture, right? I don't know everything that you're navigating. I don't know what stage of financial security you're at. So we're just going to really provide a lot of education in here. Okay. Lori, thank you for letting me know that you were not the one who manifested, that you would be the only one in the class today. Jackie, thanks for already asking us a question. I think the Monarch app is a great app. Inside of Wealth para Todos Academy, we use something called e-money in order to track all our finances, but I'm going to see, we might be transferring to Monarch. So I am a fan of Monarch. All right, let's continue. So in case you don't know me, which I feel like Lori, you've been here before. If you're the same Lori that was here a few months ago, I am Rita Soledad Fernandez Paulino. You can call me Soledad. You can even just call me Sol. I am a former math teacher turned money and self-care coach. I started Wealth para Todos LLC in December of 2021. So for the past 5 years, I have been working full-time as a money and self-care coach where I work with ambitious, anxious, progressive, first and second gen wealth builders on creating a financial plan to retire early. I am the host of the Wealth para Todos podcast. It has been out now for a year. We have 57 episodes, and I highly suggest that you binge all of them. I am queer, I'm neurodivergent, I am a married mama of 2. I want to say like I'm happily married. And that's like really important for me because I was divorced at a young age. 2, I was raised by a single mom. And 3, I've done couples therapy 2 times. And it has really helped so much in terms of our communication. And one of like my biggest accomplishments is like how happily married I am. I had to learn a lot of new skills to get to that point. I am passionate about making sure that more Black, Indigenous people of color, women, and LGBTQ plus folk have a financial plan to retire early. I want us working because we want to, not because we have to. And I don't think that we have to do it in a way that requires all this frugality, which is why I say that I teach people to use money as a tool for their wellness and also their liberation. All right. Like I said in the beginning, 5 people signed up for Roth IRA office hours today. 10% said they're not sure if they have a Roth IRA. 40% said they do have a Roth IRA, and another 40% know for sure that they do not have a Roth IRA. 60% said that they have maxed out a Roth. Wait, did I? I don't know if I updated this question. No, I did this wrong. Based on the data, it's 60% have never maxed out a Roth IRA, 40% did max out a Roth IRA before. And then when it came to contributing to a Roth IRA for a partner or for someone else, 60% said yes, 20% I want to, but don't know how, and 20% said no. These were the questions that were submitted and that I want to make sure that we answer in the 1 hour that we have together. Now, this is in addition to all the other questions that you want to ask during this call. Okay. But these were the top, not the top, these were the 5 questions submitted by the 5 people who registered. Where do I invest a rollover IRA? And where should I invest given current events and values? Well, to withdraw from a Roth IRA, does there have to be an urgent need to not have to pay a penalty? What are possible penalties for withdrawing from Roth IRAs before retirement? So notice those like similar questions. As a self-employed business owner, how much can I contribute? Can I contribute as a business owner and then as an employee? How is this different from a traditional IRA? Should I set up a SEP IRA? And the last question, when can I withdraw the money? In case of divorce, would all assets under the IRA be affected? So there were 3 questions regarding withdrawals. So we're definitely going to spend some time talking about withdrawals today. I want to look specifically. Okay. So this is what we're going to be talking about. At the end, I'm going to share about how you can hire me as your money and self-care coach. I offer one-on-one coaching, and I also have Wealth para Todos Academy, which is opening for enrollment at the end of this month. Okay, so first, we're just going to talk about how to invest in the stock market with a Roth IRA. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to choose a brokerage firm. The second thing is you open up a Roth IRA. The third is you make your contributions. And fourth, you choose your assets. And I want you to think about brokerage firms as like a kitchen, right? There are so many different kitchens in the world, and you have to choose where you would invest your money. But also, just like if you're going to cook a meal, you have to choose to, which kitchen you're going to do that in. Is it going to be your house? Is it going to be your mom's house? Is it going to be your friend's house? You have to make that decision, but you need a place, a stove, a place to cook. Second, in order to cook a meal, you would need to get a pan. And every type of pan is different, right? There are some pans that are great for making quesadillas, and there are some pans or like a pot that is really great for making a pozole or, a soup of something, right? So that's the same thing when it comes to investing. There are different types of accounts that you could choose to invest in inside of the stock market. So you'll need a place, the brokerage firm, but then you also need to choose an account. Roth IRA office hours are all about choosing an account for a Roth IRA. Other accounts that exist out there are your employer retirement accounts, your 403B, your 457, your 401k, your, people invest through a pension. There are SEP IRAs, solo 401ks. You could also invest through a taxable brokerage account. There are a lot of different accounts out there that you can invest inside in order to invest in the stock market. So we're looking specifically at a Roth IRA. Third, you're going to make your contributions. Your contributions is the money that you put inside, and that can vary, right? Your contributions vary based on the type of account that you choose. Every account has certain limits to how much you can contribute and who can contribute to what type of account. So it's important that you know those things. And it's important also, just like when you're cooking, right? Like if you are going to make a soup, you're not going to use that pan. You're going to make sure that you have a pot. So your ingredients have to be different based on the type of pot or pan that you're using. So your contributions, how much you put into account varies based on the account. Finally, you choose your assets. Now that is very similar across all types of accounts and all types of contributions. And that is when you actually make your final meal, where you have got your kitchen, you have got in your pan, you got in your ingredients, you mixed everything together and you created a meal, and now you can eat. It's important to understand this fourth step of choosing your assets, because unlike a checking account where you just put money in, or even a high yield savings account where you put money in and then interest is growing, you can have an investment account and nothing be growing. And that would be the result of not choosing your assets. So it's important that you take that fourth step, you cook. You got to make sure that you cook and you prepare that meal. That is how you're going to make sure that you have your money invested in the stock market. Okay, so these are the 4 steps to investing in the stock market, specifically, just like an overview in terms of how you would do it within a Roth IRA. Let's get into a little bit more detail. So to choose a brokerage firm, these are 4 brokerage firms that I personally have investment accounts in, and I just have experience with them. There are plenty of other brokerage firms accounts that you could look into that exist out there. But these are the ones that I currently have an investment relationship with. So my Fidelity, I have a joint account in there where it is a taxable brokerage account. My Vanguard is where I have my Roth IRA, and my solo 401k, and an individual taxable brokerage account for early retirement. Charles Schwab is where I invest for the kids in my life. And E-Trade is where we have an investment account with Husbay's restricted stock units, which is a part of his compensation with his employer. Okay, so those are 4 different brokerage firms. I have experience with all of those, so those are the ones that I'm going to be using. But I also have clients who have brokerage firms at other places. But I just want you to know, like, if today is the day that you are going to open up a Roth IRA, that you can make it very simple. Instead of exploring all the different options out there, you can simply choose one of these. Okay. Second, you're going to choose the account. This is Roth IRA office hours. So we're talking specifically about Roth IRAs. If I click on this little link here, you'll see that I have this doc of all the reasons why I ride hard for Roth IRAs. I'm going to go ahead and drop that link here in the chat so that you can review it. But I love a Roth IRA so much because it is a great way to start investing in the stock market. I think too many people use a taxable brokerage account instead. And, you're going to have to pay taxes on the capital gains. A Roth IRA is a good account to start with because you'll learn those 4 steps and you'll have to practice those 4 steps to investing in the stock market. So there's tax-free growth. You get tax-free withdrawals in retirement, which that means as your money continues to grow over the years, then that's going to be money that you do not have to pay taxes on at all. And I think to really show how amazing investing in the stock market and all that growth can be, I'm going to show you guys this mutual fund calculator. So in 2026, it's 7,500. The Roth IRA maximum Roth IRA contribution. Contribution. Let's see if Google gets by. Yeah, it's 7,500. So let's say that you're like, I'm going to start from this year on till the next 10 years, I'm going to be working on maxing out my Roth IRA. Okay. So let's actually say that you start with 0, but every year for the next 10 years, you are going to make sure to max out your Roth IRA. And let's say that you get a conservative rate of return, something like around 8%. Yeah, we'll say 8%. And you make sure to choose investments that have low expense ratios. This is key to making sure that you're keeping more of your dinero. And so let's say your expense ratio is 0.12. Okay. 7,500 times 10 is $70,500. That is how much you will have contribute over 10 years. But if you have it invested with a conservative rate of return of 8%, then that $70,500 will more than double in 10 years. And it's possible, depending on how the stock market is performing, that you might even get a higher rate of return. And it could be even more. Okay. So that is the beauty of compound interest. And if you're investing in a Roth IRA, then 10 years from now, all of this dinero would be 100% tax free, which is why I'm a fan of Roth IRA. Plus, you can pull out contributions from a Roth IRA anytime. There's no required minimum distributions. And there's other reasons here why I love to talk about Roth IRAs. Now, the key thing is to make sure that you can qualify to contribute to a Roth IRA. In order to make sure that you qualify, you'll want to read the information from the IRS website, which looks like they maybe just have it linked for a long time ago. Let's see if we could make this. Nope. Roth IRA 2026 contributions. Oh, our government is not always updating all of their websites nowadays. And they didn't create like a nice little table here that makes it easier for us to read it. So let me instead just Google it. Roth IRA. Roth IRA income limits 2026. So I'm looking for somebody who looking for a website that will have cute little, a nice little table here. And so right now, I will say this. You can contribute still to your Roth IRA for 2025, and you can contribute to your Roth IRA for 2026. So if you're opening up a Roth IRA for the first time, you can make sure to max it out for 2025 first, or put money in there first. These are the rules for 2025. If you make less than $150,000 and you're filing your taxes as single, you can contribute, the maximum amount is $7,000. If you're married filing jointly and you make less than $236,000, then you can contribute the $7,000. If you're married filing separately, you will not be able to contribute the maximum of $7,000. You could potentially, if you make less than $10,000, do a partial contribution. So that's something to keep in mind for anyone who's married and choosing to file their taxes separately. It does impact your ability to invest in a Roth IRA. Now, let's say that you're making more than these amounts, then you could do a partial contribution. Or if you're making more than 246 as a married filing jointly couple, or more than $165,000 as a single individual, you can't contribute directly to a Roth IRA, but you can do something called a backdoor Roth IRA, which involves making sure that you don't have any money in any traditional IRA accounts, and you put money in a traditional IRA and then you transfer it into a Roth IRA. It does require some extra paperwork, but it's the way that I contribute to a Roth IRA. I do a backdoor Roth IRA because we make more. We're a married couple filing jointly that makes more than the income limit. All right, I'm checking the chat to see if you guys have any questions. Any questions so far? You let me know. Maybe a little thumbs up emoji if we're following along. Okay. So again, first step, you choose a brokerage firm. Second, you're going to make sure that you qualify, that you meet the income limits when it comes to contributing to a Roth IRA. The third step is that you're going to make your contributions. Your contributions are going to vary based on how much income you make. You have to have earned income. And that means that you have to, like W-2 income, or just income that you report, right? If you cannot use like disability income as a contribution to your Roth IRA. So it's important that you have that earned income. And how much you can contribute is going to vary based on your age. If you're 59 and a half, not 59.5. If you're 50 and older, then you could contribute even more to your Roth IRA for the maximum contribution. If you're younger than 50, then you're just going to follow the annual rules. The rules are constantly changing. So as you can see here in 2025, the maximum limit was $7,000. In 2026, the maximum contribution is $7,500. So you'll always want to like be aware of those things. And even here, I'm going to go ahead and drop this link in the page here, so that you guys can see the age contribution limits. Notice here that in 2026, if you're 50 or older, you can contribute $8,600. I feel like that might be a typo. Let's just say 50 and older, 2026 Roth IRA. It's usually just $1,000 more. So that's why I want to double check it. Oh, yeah, they increased the catch-up contribution. So now the catch-up contribution is $1,100. Okay, so 1, you've chosen your brokerage firm. 2, you've decided, okay, I can qualify to contribute directly to a Roth IRA. I have earned income and my income is below these thresholds. 3rd, you're going to decide on your contribution. Now, you may be like, I'm going to max it out. I'm going to do one lump sum. Or you might say, you know what? I don't have $7,000 or $7,500 lying around. So I'm going to do it poco. I'm going to start off with a $20 monthly investment, or $100 or $200, $250, whatever your extra cash flow allows. And you'll set up those contributions. The next step is to choose your assets. And these are all some possible assets. 1, this is like the easiest way that you can invest in the stock market is through a target date fund. A target date fund, and these are like 5 low-cost target date funds for 2026, are gonna be mutual funds that are diversified. They have money, they have investments companies that are US companies, US stocks, US bonds, international stocks, and international bonds. So in here, we have some example target date funds. And notice that all of these target date funds have various expense ratios. I'm going to actually just copy this ticker symbol. This symbol is important because that's what you'll need to know in order to choose your investments. Okay, so we have this target date fund, and I'm going to copy that ticker symbol so that we could research it a little bit more. So if we look at the history well, notice that if we looked at the past 5 days, you'd be like, ooh, it's in the red. The value has gone down. If you look at the past month, you'll also see like, oh, it's gone down by 2%. But if we look at the maximum history, this is a target date fund that was created in 2003. Once like a share of this was $10.15, and now it has gone up to $35.29. So this is how much it has increased in those years in value, right? A lot of times in the stock market, you'll hear in the news that the stock market is down. Yeah, things are down. But if we look historically, there's always an increase. Even if we look at 2021, or even now, there was this dip and this low period. As long as you don't sell those shares and you buy and hold, then you'll see that over time, like it does go up. But it's very normal for things to go down, and you just hold, and you'll see that it goes up. So this is one target date fund. The year to date rate of return for this target date fund is 4.63%. That's not so high. That's low, right? There are high yield savings accounts that can give you a 4% rate of return. So that is on the lower end, but the expense ratio is low. If we look at this other one, we're copying the ticker symbol. And again, this one has been down the past month by 3%, but this one does have a little higher rate of return, but the expense ratio is also a little higher. If we look at the max, you can see that this started in 2009 for $10, and it has increased to $31.44 per share. So we also see how it has increased over time. Okay, If we look at this closer at these target date funds, and we start to look at like the brokerage firm, you can see that this is the page. Right here, we have our ticker symbol. Right here, the name of the account. It's telling us what our rate of returns are, and it's saying like, hey, this is on the higher end. If we look at the past 12 months, not just the year to date from January to March 10th, the past 12 months, this target date fund has a 23.25% rate of return. If we look at the past 10 years, it has a 12.11% rate of return. So that's really nice. That's why I'm saying the returns are here, averaging high, and the expense ratios are low, 0.12. Let's compare that to that Vanguard target date fund. So again, this is another brokerage firm. This is the ticker symbol. We're looking here, we have the expense ratio. Notice that here in Vanguard, in order to invest, you have to have a minimum of $1,000. So if you are choosing a brokerage firm and you know you're not going to have thousands of dollars to invest at one time, definitely go with Fidelity because they don't have like these high investment, minimum investment contributions. Okay, if we look at the performance of this one, we can see year to date it's 4.63. Past 10 years, it has had an 11.89% rate of return compared to this one that's 12.11. So I want to show you guys using the mutual fund calculator, those specific numbers. So if we are looking at this Vanguard target retirement fund, that one's 11.89%. We will put that rate of return here. The expense ratio is 0.08. We're putting the exact same amount of money in both so that we could compare which one do we want to go forward with investing in. So if we had this one, over 10 years, we would pay a total of $669.52, but the value would be $145,814. So almost close to $146,000. Now we'll compare it to this one. This one has a higher rate of return, but it also has a higher expense ratio. This has an expense ratio of 0.12. We calculate that, and we want to see if this number here is going to be greater or less than. So it is greater than, even though it had a higher expense ratio. So that rate of return made a difference, right? Even though that expense ratio was higher. But if it had not had a different rate of return, and the expense ratio was just higher, then it would impact how much money you would have at the end. So I'm just going to show you, like if we put the exact rate of return, you'll see that the cost of fees would cut into your net growth. When you are choosing your contributions, like I said, a target date fund is one of the easiest ways to invest, but you want to be mindful of those expense ratios. Look at this expense ratio, 0.60. We're going to copy and paste the ticker symbol, get a closer look at what this 10-year rate of return has been, and let's see if we can get access to it here, performance. This is not a brokerage firm. This is just a place where you could review different assets. Okay. 2025, 2026. Okay, year to date. Okay, 10-year rate of return. So this specific target date fund has a 10-year rate of return of 11.44. So we're going to put that in here. But the expense ratio is 0.60. Notice the difference in terms of the cost of fees. Here, you will end up paying $4,815, which will impact your rate of return. And the rate of return here is not even higher than the other two. So when you're looking for target date funds, you'll want to play with this mutual fund calculator. I'm going to drop that one in the chat and compare them. You'll want to look at the rate of return. The most data that you can have, the better, and also the expense ratios. So like if I was having to choose between one of these, I wouldn't choose this one because that wouldn't give me the most money back. Any questions about that, Jackie and Lori? You let me know. Okay, good. That makes sense. Okay. Oh, good. Yeah, I love talking about expense ratios and making sure people understand that and playing with that calculator because it is one of the best ways to make sure that you're getting as much of your money as possible. Yeah. Yay. I love us learning new things. Okay. So, target date funds, that's the easiest way to invest. You could also choose to do index funds and you could also do ETFs. Target date funds, what's nice is it will be a mutual fund that has US stocks and international stocks, US bonds, international bonds. Index funds will probably, you can just, are going to be cheaper. You're going to have lower expense ratios, and you could choose an index fund that tracks that tracks US stocks, that tracks international stocks. And if you're concerned about investing in companies that are building ICE detention centers or, building war supplies, if that's something that you're like, I'm not about that life, then you can choose to invest in index funds versus target date funds. Target date funds, it's going to be very hard for you. Yeah, like you can't, there aren't like ethical, they're called ESG funds. There isn't a target date fund that is like, oh, we're a target date fund that doesn't invest in war. That's not possible. But index funds, you can do that, where you can still get this diversity, but you can say, but not at the cost of certain values that I have. So let me show you guys. Okay, here is this website where I talk about index funds, but let's look into oops, ESG index funds. Here. 7 best performing ESG ETFs and 7 cheapest. So these are ETFs, not necessarily index funds. ETFs are similar to index funds, except that ETFs are traded like stocks throughout the day. Index funds, you just purchase them and they're just like you can buy and sell once a day. ETFs, you can get them throughout the day. So here are the ticker symbol, and these are some ETFs. And then also notice the rate of return is for some of these looks really, really high, but we don't always want to look at just the rate of return of 1 year. The more data we have, the better. So let's look at this one. We'll research this. Okay, so let's look at it in Morningstar. So here we have an ETF. If we look at the performance, so notice that it hasn't been around for that long. It is something that was established just in 2024. So we only have 2 years of data so far around this specific ETF. But if we look at sustainability portfolio, we can look at what is invested in here. So this is a lot of international stock. That's that non-US equity. And the biggest companies that are invested are right here. So like this is interesting because it's consumer defensive, healthcare, utilities, it's invested in tech, some financial services, but this is where you can start to look into stuff. There is this resource. I'm wondering if I could remember. Let's see. No War Index Fund. Okay, yeah. So one of the things that you can do is you can research the index fund that you have, right? So if we take this one, which has this ticker symbol, and paste it in here, You'll see that it gets a B when it comes to its grade for investing awards. So notice this, that it's still considered like an environmental social governance fund, an ESG fund. However, it does have two military contracts inside of its portfolio, inside of the company. And these are the two companies that it has holdings in. Less than 1% of each, but like it has a B. Now, I'm going to share with you like a common, like on Instagram, people will always talk about investing in this index fund. This is the total stock market index fund. So if you do this, you're going to be investing in every US company that's publicly traded. Notice that it has an F. Why? Because if you're investing in anything that includes the total stock market, you're gonna include 103 military contractors, 32 companies related to nuclear weapons, and also controversial weapons. One of the ones that is just like so problematic is this company right here. Okay, so and yeah, so that is like a company that a lot of times like you're going to be like, I don't know if I want to be investing in an index fund that holds these companies. Another one that gets talked about on Instagram that people will talk about is BTI. Let's search that one. So, oh, it's not coming up. Yeah, well, VTI is just the another form. Let me do like the S&P 500 index fund. So we need a ticker symbol, and this is the one with Fidelity. FXAIX, FXAIX, FXAIX. Notice that this one also is investing in the S&P 500. So these are the top 500 companies in the stock market, and it includes 25 companies. Those we're seeing those top five again that are military contractors, nuclear weapons, and controversial weapons. Okay, so this is a great website, weaponfreefunds.org, which will give you that information that anytime you're like, oh, do I want to invest in this? You'll find you can look that up. I also want to show like the so FIOFX, because this is one that we looked at. And let's see how that one does here. That's a target date fund. FIOFX. Okay, so notice that that target date fund is given a D because of these holdings. 3.83% of the portfolio is in military contracts, and 1.77% of that target date fund is going to be in nuclear weapons. And then there's also these controversial weapons. Okay, so that is something that you want to be aware of. Now, this website, like you could also look up, there's weapon-free funds. Let's see. They have other versions. No. Okay, so if you could do the fossil fuel free funds, if that's something that you want to focus more on in terms of your 401k or your IRA, you can look at that. But in general, like this, notice that they have the fossil fuels, deforestation funds, there's social justice funds, the prison free funds. These are all ways that you could like look at the website. Oh, that one is getting an upgrade. But this is a good place for you to look at, to review, and to check your investments. And I also want to say, like, it can be very challenging because sometimes in your employer retirement accounts, you don't get to choose. You don't get to have as many options as possible. And that can be hard. It can be very hard. I think about like how challenging it is to avoid certain things that we know like do harm. companies that do complete harm. Like I know right now I'm currently boycotting Target because of their stance on DEI, but I'm still shopping from Amazon, So it's a challenging thing to like have these values, be aware of these different company values, and then always having to like dance like, well, what is the way that I'm going to do the least harm? So I just wanted to make sure to share all of that with you guys. Okay, so we talked about how to open up the Roth IRA. Oh, you know what? I want to kind of also just show you what that would look like. So if we went to Fidelity and we said open an account, then you can go to right here, a rollover IRA or a Roth IRA. Open one of those. Next thing you would do is just fill out information. It wouldn't take more than 10 minutes, where if you don't already have an account with Fidelity, then you'll just give your identity and employment information. You'll create a username and a password, and you could also link your checking account so that you could transfer money into the account. That would be one, choosing the brokerage firm, two, opening the account. The third thing would be making the money contributions, and the fourth step would be choosing your assets. And then boom, yeah, you'd already be investing in a Roth IRA. And you could automate those contributions and investments. There's also like these different tutorial videos that you could find on YouTube, where they like walk you through how to automate the contribution. So it's not something that you have to think through all the time. Okay. Then to open a Roth IRA for a loved one, you will want to make sure that they have earned income and that they meet the income limits. So if you're opening up a Roth IRA for like a parent, make sure that your parent is earning earned income. If it's for a partner, if you're married and filing jointly, you could use your income to invest for your spouse. So that's something through the spousal IRA limits. If it's a child that you want to be investing in and you want to open up a Roth IRA, that child needs to have their own earned income first. So let's say they have a summer job and they're making, like $3,000. You can say like, I'm going to invest $3,000 on your behalf into your Roth IRA because you made $3,000. So that's the amount of money that you can contribute. It's based on the maximum of the earned income. And then you put that money in there, and oh my goodness, I wish I had my first W-2 job at the age of 16. Imagine, y'all, how much money I would have if I had started investing at the age of 16. I didn't know. I didn't even know about investing in the stock market at that time. So, and then you just follow those same 4 steps for your loved one. Choose a brokerage firm, open up the Roth IRA account, link your account so you can make the contributions, be aware of their earned income and income limits, and then choose the assets. Now let's talk about Roth IRA withdrawals. I am going to drop this link over here because there was 3 questions today all about Roth IRA withdrawals. So this is the key thing. Withdrawals must be taken after the age of 59 and a half, and you have to have had your Roth IRA for 5 years. That is important. When you don't have your Roth IRA for 5 years, and then things start to change up. Now, one thing that you should know is that you can pull out contributions to your Roth IRA at any time with no penalty. So for example, remember in the beginning here where we talked about like the $7,500, you can pull that out at any time, but you cannot pull out earnings. So if that $7,500 in 1 year grows to $8,313, you can pull out $7,500, but you can't pull out the remaining amount. Okay, so that is something to understand, that when we're talking about withdrawals, it's different than pulling out contributions. You can pull out contributions, no penalties, tax-free at any time. Withdrawals, that's when we start having to follow all these rules. Okay, if you're 59 and under, and you've had the Roth IRA for 5 years, then you will not be subject to taxes if you pull money out up to $10,000 to pay for your first-time home purchase, or you've become disabled or passed away. Now, if you're 59 and a half and under, and you've held your Roth IRA for less than 5 years, then you are going to have to pay some taxes on the capital gains, the money that has earned, that you have earned from the compound interest. Okay. But you can pull it out under all of these circumstances. So you could do it to pay for a first time home purchase. You could do it to pay for qualified education expenses, for certain emergency expenses, qualified birth or adoption expenses, unreimbursed medical expenses or health insurance if you're unemployed, disabled or pass away if you're a survivor of domestic abuse, if the distribution is made in connection with a federally qualified disaster. In California last year, we had the wildfires, like you would be allowed to pull that out, and these other options here. Okay, so this is when we start to get into like the nitty gritty of all the withdrawal rules. So if you're under 59 and a half, one key thing is, okay, that's one event. And then understanding whether you've had the account for at least 5 years or not, then the rules change. If you're 59 and a half and over, and you've had the Roth IRA less than 5 years, your earnings will be subject to taxes, but not penalties. So this is very important, y'all. That's why I'm like always like, everybody open up your Roth IRA as soon as possible. Get those 5 years in as soon as possible. Like have that there, because then at least you have that account, and then you know, like, okay, I'm not going to have to worry about paying taxes. If you have a Roth IRA, had it for at least 5 years, then and after the age of 59 and a half, you can withdraw the money with no taxes and no penalties. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the questions here because you guys asked specifically, what are possible penalties for withdrawing from Roth IRAs before retirement? Taxes, and then depending on why you're pulling the money out, then the penalties will vary too. But the penalty can be up to 20%. So that's something to keep in mind, right? And then taxes, we're talking about the capital gain taxes. And to withdraw from Roth IRA, does there have to be an urgent need to not have to pay a penalty? Yeah, and we reviewed that on that link. And when can I withdraw the money? In case of divorce, would all assets under the IRA be affected? So you can withdraw the money with no penalties and no taxes after the age of 59 and a half if you've had your account for 5 years. You can withdraw contributions at any time with no penalty. And I also linked here IRAs after divorce. So let me open that link. I'll also drop that link over here in the chat. This is a good article that talks about how an IRA is split during divorce. It's going to depend on your state rules and whether the IRA is considered marital property. If your IRA was pulled out, was opened during the course of your marriage, while you are already married, then that's going to be considered marital property. And it may be something that is discussed about splitting up in half. Okay. This is why prenups are important and postnups are important too, postnuptials. Husband and I, when we learned about this stuff, we did create a postnup, and we did it out of I feel like a lot of like cariño for a relationship, right? It's one thing to say when you're like very in love with each other and respecting each other, to say like, hey, if things were to go wrong, obviously we don't want them to go wrong. Just like, you get car insurance, right? You don't get car insurance hoping you're going to get into a car accident. You get car insurance just in case you do get into the car accident. The same thing with a prenup and a postnup. So in your postnup, you can agree to say like, hey, and this is what husband and I agreed, that all of our joint accounts, we would split 50-50. We would not touch each other's businesses, and we would not touch each other's retirement accounts, including our taxable brokerage accounts that we have specified just for early retirement. That is something that we wrote up in advance. I know of clients who were thinking about getting divorces. It was already something that they were thinking through, and they decided to get their postnup. and get that in order before they filed their divorce in order to protect certain financial assets. Okay, so I am sharing that with all of you here. There was also a question about whether you should do a SEP IRA versus a Roth IRA. A SEP IRA is for business owners. The nice thing about a SEP IRA is that you have the possibility of contributing so much more than just the 7,500 contribution limit that we have in 2026. The nice thing, and I would say ideally, you do a little bit of both. You do some SEP IRA contributions so that you can reduce your taxable income as someone who's self-employed. And you also invest in a Roth IRA to ensure that you have tax-free income at retirement. Okay, but this is a sign. And then I know that the person who asked this question isn't here right now, so I'm not going to drop it in the chat, but there's this article in here comparing SEP IRAs versus Roth IRAs, everything that you should know. Okay. All right. I believe that I answered all of your questions. I do. Let me see. Word investor rollover IRA. Oh, let's talk about rollover IRAs. To invest a rollover IRA is going to be very similar in terms of the 4 steps of investing in the stock market, right? The only difference is that when you come over here, let's say to Fidelity, if that's who you choose to open up, well, when you have a rollover IRA, that means that you usually have thousands of dollars already that you can roll over. In that case, you might choose to go with Vanguard, right? Because Vanguard has lower expense ratios. But they also require you to invest thousands at a time. So I'm going to show you how to do it here in Vanguard. So here in Vanguard, we would click on open an account, say open an investment account, and then see here you have rollover an employer plan to Vanguard. So that is what you would click on if you were doing a rollover IRA. And then you could say I want to invest on my own. And then it's asking you select a new or existing Vanguard IRA. You would say continue with your rollover. Yeah, I'm going to open up an account with you guys. Then you start to provide your information there. If you're all this paperwork that's involved and doing a rollover is too much, there's this company called Capitalize. Yeah. And they will help you roll over your 401ks at no cost for free 99. So that is an option, something to explore. Okay, we talked about investing for our values. We talked about when to withdraw. We talked about being self-employed and how you can contribute to those various IRA accounts. We answered all these questions. The only one here is, how is a traditional IRA different than a Roth IRA? A traditional IRA is going to reduce your taxable income right now when you're self-employed. A Roth IRA, but at retirement, you're going to have to pay taxes on that money. Versus a Roth IRA doesn't reduce your taxable income now, but later on at retirement, you're going to know that all that money is 100% tax-free. Okay, we have answered all of the questions. If you have more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I want to make sure that I answer the questions of everyone who showed up live. And I also want to invite all of you to schedule a discovery call. So Wealth para Todos Academy is opening up on Sunday, March 29th. We have 11 spots available. And you can use this link to schedule a call with me about whether Wealth para Todos Academy is a good use of your time and money and energy. And for those 30 minutes, you could just choose a day, a time, and you fill out this information. And we'll talk about whether having a money and self-care coach is a good next step in terms of your financial journey. I also work with clients one-on-one. My one-on-one cost is one payment of $4,111 or 4 payments of $1,010. That comes with 12 45-minute one-on-one coaching calls with me. WhatsApp access to me for 4 months. So like we're just messaging each other privately, and 12-month access to Wealth para Todos Academy. Wealth para Todos Academy costs $1,111 or 5 payments of $225. If we, I lose my, yeah, okay. Wealth para Todos Academy. I'm going to go ahead and share this link with all of you too. Let's drop that. Let's also, I want you guys to have the link so you can schedule a call to talk about whether joining Wealth para Todos Academy or one-on-one coaching is a good investment. Okay. But this waitlist doc that I just shared with all of you talks about Wealth para Todos Academy. Oh, the link I just shared with you is not the most updated one. We need the waitlist guide for March. Sorry, let me pull that up. March 2026 waitlist. The link that I shared was for the last launch. Okay. So here you'll see that we're opening doors Sunday, March 29th at 9 a.m. Doors will close on Tuesday evening. These are the different payment options. And I start to talk to you all about Wealth para Todos Academy. Why it exists. The big focus of Wealth para Todos Academy is making sure that you know how to save, pay off, or invest $5,000 in 90 days. It is a 12-month program. So the goal is that you know how to do that repeatedly and that you spend time in our container learning how to understand your cash flow, understanding your finances, being in the wealth building cycle, and learning how to do it in a way with a lot of cariño, compassion. I am not a fan of frugality. I believe that we all have skills that we can monetize, and it is possible to build financial security without sacrificing our wellness, pleasure, and our joy. So in this doc, I talk a lot about Wealth para Todos Academy. The goal here is for you to move up those 10 stages of financial security. This is like my framework. And where you get to that 10th stage where you're working because you want to, not because you have to. People join Wealth para Todos Academy. Jackie. Join Wealth para Todos Academy at the first stage. Some people join already being in the 6th stage, and we're always working on making sure that they continue to increase their financial security. Okay. So that is the goal of the program. And the way that you're moving up these stages is by learning how to save, pay off, or invest $5,000 in 90 days repeatedly over the 12-month cycle. You can know if this is for you, what your first 90 days inside of Wealth para Todos Academy would look like. Like I said, you could schedule a call with me and we can talk about like what you are right now and how the program would support you. What's included inside of Wealth para Todos Academy is every member does get a 45-minute one-on-one call with me. There are themed group coaching calls. So every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we have calls on financial planning, increasing your income, mindset, and diverse self-care. Diverse self-care is my acronym that I created about the 7 types of self-care that keep us wealthy and healthy. We have entrepreneur office hours every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And that is just helping you increase your income as somebody who's on an entrepreneur. The types of entrepreneurs that we have in the program, we have a lot of therapists, a lot of therapists in the program. We have social workers, we have teachers, we have people in real estate. We have people who are educators, who are professors, who are public school teachers, and they're all coming in to figure out like, oh, what are the ways that they can increase their income and make sure that they're growing their businesses so that they have more cash flow to save, pay off, or invest 5K in 90 days. We have financial planning tools. We have e-money and the Wealth para Todos dashboard. There is a curriculum that helps you, that comes with handouts that you can submit for review. In these calls here, they're live group coaching calls, but sometimes people are not going to want to ask certain questions in a public space. So we have this private coaching form. So you could submit a question that only I see, and then I respond to you via email about anything that's maybe a little too specific or too private that you just don't want to share in a group call. There's a lot that Wealth para Todos Academy offers. I always tell people, you treat it like a buffet. You get the parts that you like and you leave out the parts that you don't. Some people join the academy, they focus on their one-on-one calls and using this private coaching submission form and watching the curriculum. There are other people who love showing up to every single live group coaching call. And there are some people who are like, I'm not going to show up to every group coaching call, but I'm just going to show up when I need it during the 12 months. And everybody is making progress towards their 5K goals. If you want to learn more about members in Wealth para Todos Academy, I have episodes in my podcast where I talk about them. Let me just actually pull that up because it's good to hear about people's different success stories. So here we have like Erica's story. I will say the thing that's challenging is like I have coached over hundreds of clients at this point in my career, but not everybody wants to share their glow ups publicly. The ones who tend to are the ones who are entrepreneurs. So I'm grateful for Erica and Ruby and Natalia and Carla for sharing their stories. But anything that says like so-and-so story, you could hear about those people who've either worked with me one-on-one or also inside of the academy. It is time. We are supposed to, I went over. If you have any questions, do not be a stranger. Feel free to DM me on Instagram or send me an email. But thank you so much for showing up to the Roth IRA office hours today. Let's stay connected. And I truly, truly hope that you will book a discovery call and we could talk about how we could potentially work with each other long term. Okay. Hasta luego. Have a good one.